but I did not press the go live button. These little cyber demons, I did not even press the button. I was just fixing my hair, was getting ready to walk away for a second, scheduled this for another 5 minutes, my unplanned live stream, and then boom, I'm live. So I guess we doing this. What is up, everybody? Happy Sunday to you. What's going on, Brian? I see you. Unplanned live stream as normal. This is my cleaning day. Next week, we're back to the old routine. School's back in session, both home and at the public schools. So, ooh, yeah, I had a great break, though. Great winter break. I feel rested, so I'm ready to do it all. Back to work, back to school, back to the old routine tomorrow. All right, you said yours too, clean day. I love Sundays. How are you doing, Howard? Sundays are my cleaning day. I observe Sabbath from Friday sundown to Saturday sundown, and I just be chilling so hard on Sabbath that I just literally will sometimes just say screw it, like I'm still chilling all day Saturday. So Sunday I have to get with the program. So you said bye, Joy, good riddance. Yes, I just heard. I was just catching up on my news feeds, and it looks like MSNBC has finally gotten rid of the Optimus Prime of Black women race hustlers, Joy Reid. Now, like I said, I don't respect how everybody gets their coins. I don't look at every black face on the TV like they used to look at every black face on the TV back in the day. Oh, wow, look, there go one of us. There go one of us on TV, y'all. Right? She looks like me. I'm one of those people now. I'm like, just because she looks like me, let me know, let me see what this person's disposition on things are. Let me see if this person can debate in a manner that is more so about problem solving instead of somehow, elevating a problem, right? So I've never been a fan of Joy Reid. I kind of look at Joy Reid as one of those like Democratic, operatives. Ooh, my bun's coming apart. I looked at her as kind of like one of those Democratic operatives where, she was paid to kind of spit hyper racial vitriol, right? And honestly, she was an op on the Democratic side, a blackface, if you will. And, her job was essentially to keep black people, keep their emotions inflamed in the Democratic position on things. So no matter how much the Democrats were screwing over anybody indiscriminately, her job was to blame it on white people, blame it on the Republicans, and really just exist in this victimhood that is just really unnatural for modern America, especially black women. Black women have been sort of, you know, pocketed into this mental disposition of victimhood vicariously through black women, paid black women like Joy Reid. So, of course, for me, I don't like to see anybody out of work, but I also don't like to see useless people, wielding, ridiculous influence on populations of vulnerable lemmings. And that's exactly what Joy Reid did, and people like her. I look at people like Megyn Kelly as being the conservative Joy Reid. Like, so there are Joy Reids on both sides of the spectrum. I think just depending on which lemming you are, you are just, looking at the other side with disdain, even though you have people on your side that kind of deserve the same disdain. What's going on, Super? What is this? Superstar Dorian, Star Dorian. What's going on? What's going on? Goose unemployed, final boss right here. You unemployed? That's sad. Or I hope you're talking about Joy Reid. I'm not sure who you're talking about. You said that's stupid. What's stupid? I can't stand when people just come out saying shit. What do you find stupid? What do you disagree with? Let's be intelligent. Have a buggy man for those types. What is it? I don't know who is Gotsta. have a book. Oh, you said got to have a boogeyman for those types. What is the best Democrat 2028 ticket in your opinion? I would say a ticket of rational people who are not addicted to victimhood and past pangs and transgressions and leveraging such things against a base of people, people who don't, who can just speak on the reality of things, right? There are very few things that the Democratic Party pushes out ideologically that most of Americans care about. I think at the end of the day, we care about our money. We care about our money. We care about retaining, our earnings, right? And the Democrats, with all of their socialist mindset, but they're also crooks, right? I think they need a ticket that really kind of speaks on all of the things that Trump is speaking on right now. Cutting waste, right? They have been a big contributor of government spending and waste, along with the Republicans too, right? So I think the best ticket for the Democrats is a pair that have high levels of economic common sense and focus and nothing else. All that other shit they can leave to the little fringe groups. That's what their jobs are, right? To get people inflamed. That's why you're a fringe group, right? Their ticket people should not be talking like that, and that's why it hurts them every time. And again, there is a base of people who are emotionally irrational enough to believe that the fervor that the Democrats spew all the time is the fervor that is what is going to present long-term change for the country. Welfare does not give the country a ROI. It's a short-term solution at best. So we cannot continuously operate with people thinking, especially capable people, thinking that they shouldn't be putting in, the work to, you know, keep the economic cycle going the way it should be. And with that thought, I want to just kind of, before I jump into this other video about Pete Hegseth, he made a comment that I did not like. And I think that just the combination of things that have been going on at CPAC, this recent CPAC, and then this comment that Pete Hegseth said, I think that when it comes to the conversation of racism and all this stuff that the conservatives, some of the conservatives are trying to act like it's not happening, I do feel like these people are throwing racist rocks and then hiding their hands and then trying to play in the general public's face. So we will talk about that in a second, but I want to go into I caught this video of Dr. Umar Johnson, and he is warning Black people about the Trump administration. And I want to go through this video just really quickly, not the whole thing, but he's making some comments here, and I've been hearing this reoccurringly. And so I just want to kind of see what you guys think. We can talk about this. Let me go to my chat for a second so I can actually see the chat from the computer. But Umar is sounding the alarm to Black people. He's saying that the reason why Trump is getting rid of these illegal human liabilities that infiltrated the country under the Biden administration is because he is looking for a new class of slaves, okay? And Umar, I want to go here, make sure it's not muted, all right? Umar is, doing what Umar does. And I just want you guys to hear what he's saying. And as he's speaking, I'll pull the chat back up to see what your thoughts are. So he's saying that the reason why he's sounding the alarm to Black people, that the reason why the Trump administration is so adamant about getting rid of these illegal immigrants, migrants, is because they are looking to bring back slavery of some sort. And then I heard somebody else say, well, they're trying to bring back indentured servitude. Again, I heard somebody else say this. I have my thoughts about some of this, but let's just listen to Umar and then I'll pull up the chat.
And if you can't, so what Donald Trump is doing, he's basically saying, so what Donald Trump is doing, he's basically saying to the American people, if you can't work for the corporation, and if you can't buy from the corporation, you're better off homeless and unalived. That's why they're not going to do nothing about homelessness, because homelessness is an unnatural outgrowth of capitalism. Donald Trump is making you think he's saving America money so it'll be better off for you. No, he's not. He's cutting the programs so you can replace the illegal immigrants who are being deported.
Okay, so I want to. So he said that homelessness is essentially an indication that capitalism is a failure. And I disagree with that. I do disagree with that because there are so many factors to why an individual becomes homeless. Sometimes they come from cycles of poverty, right? And there's always been poverty line individuals, low skilled individuals in societies. And that's not necessarily a byproduct of the capitalist system all the time. Matter of fact, I will argue that capitalism, if done right, it has actually brought people out of homelessness. So I'm not really sure if I agree with that point that homelessness is a result of failed capitalism. I think maybe possibly a fabric, but it's not a major part because there's so many factors that contribute to an individual being homeless, and a lot of times some of these people who are products of poverty are not even immersed in the capital system enough for it to impact them to homelessness or further homelessness. That's just my opinion.
I want to say this because there's a lot of memes and commentary and content being spoken of with regard to President Donald Trump.
And this is just fair
usage. Notorious racist. And black people are trying to put a positive spin on the things that Donald Trump is doing.
So Umar does not like it that there are some black people who are speaking favorably about Donald Trump and some of the things that he is doing. I suppose he believed that maybe they're not educated enough to know, what some of the things that Donald Trump is doing could mean for them. I don't know, but apparently he's not happy with black people speaking favorably about what Trump is doing.
People are trying to put a positive spin on the things that Donald Trump is doing. The reason so many Africans are trying to put a positive spin on the things that Donald Trump is doing is we suffer from a white savior complex. We suffer from a white savior complex. We suffer from a white savior complex. So we always have to have a Caucasian in a position of influence or authority who we have to make look good. Because for African people who suffer from a white savior complex, we don't feel safe when we don't have a white person who we can look to as being somehow in our favor.
Now, so, he might be thinking a little too deep about this. I'm not sure, but I will say this. If you are a black looking person that exists in a Western land, the one thing for damn sure, and history has not lied to us, it is the whites. It is the whites who dominate the power of Western lands. Unless you were talking about a truly homogenous black-looking land or nation in which the people that wield the power and have the influence are black-looking people, right? History has always been about black-looking people in Western white dominant societies, Western nations, always having to choose between the best of the worst of what they would believe is a supremacist, right? So, I mean, I don't know if it's a savior complex that these people are operating on, or if it's really just this is how society has been working, right? And it's like, if you don't really have, and here's the thing, the plebeians have always had the power of numbers, but they don't have the power of strategy. They don't have the power of real coordination outside of raising riots and protests. And you can go back to plebeians, if you will, of the ancient whatever times, medieval times, right? You know, they've always been able to yell and voice their disenfranchisement, but very little has actually ever worked for the common folk, commoners, or plebeians, right? And so I don't think that blacks or Africans um, have a savior complex when it comes to white people. I think it's really just a resolve of we are always choosing between the best of the worst white people to lead these nations.
Now, this is not a pro-Republican message or a pro-Democrat message, because when it comes to black people, there is no red party or blue party. There's only the white party. I said, when it comes to Africans in America, there is no red party or blue party. There's only the white party. I said, when it comes to the American African, there's no red party or blue party.
This motherfucker is always going to replay himself. I mean, I have never heard an instant replay individual. This dude is always going to replay himself like 3 times. Isn't that suspicious? Isn't that suspicious? Isn't that suspicious? I mean, this dude going to replay himself.
Party, there's only the white party.
I understand the emphasis, Umar. I see what you're doing
why
there.
Donald Trump is doing what he is doing. The reason Donald Trump is purging the government, the reason why he's trying to cut as much from the federal budget as possible, the reason he's trying to eliminate all of these social service safety programs,
putting himself on replay,
is because he wants to force you, the unemployed, the underemployed, the disabled, he wants to force everyone into becoming a slave to white capitalism.
Okay, we are all slaves to white capitalism, whether we want to concede to that or not. If you have a job, you are an indentured servant to white capitalism. That's just what it is. That's just what it is. And like, I guess I would agree with this if he said, if like, or I would be alarmed, I should say, if he was saying, oh, he's going to force the disabled to be slaves to white capitalism. But he's like, he's going to force the unemployed to work. This is basically what I'm hearing him say. Like, dog, what are you talking about?
Social service safety programs is because he wants to force you, the unemployed, the underemployed,
the unemployed, he wants to force the unemployed and the underemployed to actually work in white capitalism. Now, is he saying, like, I mean, I don't know if he's trying to raise the fear that Donald Trump is going to just make you work as a slave and not work in some level of indentured capacity where you are getting compensated for your labor. This is what I'm feeling like he's alluding to, is that Donald Trump's administration is really seeking to take people of color back to slavery by forcing them to work in the white man's capital system.
Disabled, he wants to force everyone into becoming a slave to white capitalism. I'm going to say it again, and I want you to understand, overstand, and understand.
Okay.
I want you to understand, overstand,
I'm ready.
And understand me.
I'm ready, dude.
Donald Trump isn't doing this to help the government. Donald Trump is purging the government financially to help corporate America, to help big business. The more people he cuts off, the more people he cuts off from relevant social safety net programs food stamps, WIC, housing, Social Security. The more he cuts, the more that the underclass, the working class, the disabled class, the oppressed class will have to go enslave for corporate America. He wants all hands on deck for the corporations.
It's, let me get to the comments because I'm a bit perplexed a little bit because, again, everybody has their perception of this. But as I look at it, corporations have, if done right, let's just say that we have a model of capitalism that was, let's say, 70s to 80s, right? Before NAFTA, before globalism, right? In that sense, right, let's just say you had a big automotive OEM that decided to create a plant in a small town, right? What happens is the trickle down to that automotive plant with maybe those 5 to 10,000 workers is that there can now be a small business, little coffee shop that actually has customers. There could be a clothing shop near that plant that actually has customers. There could be a drugstore near that shop that actually has customers. This is the trickle down economics works when you have major corporations in key areas where people can work because they not only create jobs within their enterprise, it kind of trickles out. This is the biggest argument with NAFTA that I always put on the table. NAFTA wiped out whole towns. It didn't just take out industries, it took out whole towns. So that tells you that when we have our bigger corporations offshoring, right? Then the slaves, the underworks, the underemployed, they kind of stay there. They kind of stay there. So I do agree that we do need to have some level of subsidy to big corporations, but we also need to have responsibility with those subsidies. We need to see the ROI with the subsidies trickle down into the people. We have not seen that. And so hopefully, as Donald Trump is looking for all of these opportunities to make this nation economically sound and fair again, he's looking at some of his big business buddies and the things that have gone wrong and how they have defiled the capitalism system. Because capitalism, I don't care what anybody says, it's a way better system than socialism. It is a system that definitely relies on people who have a winning mindset. You cannot be a lazy person. This world is not cut out for lazy, incapable people. Even if the education has moved a lot of Americans into kind of being that with all these distractions and bullshit, this nation and no strong nation will ever survive with weak-minded individuals who do not feel compelled to work for the things that they want. And, I think when you look at the systems of welfare, you'll see generations of family passing generations of bridge card knowledge instead of generations of wealth. And it's like, how do we address this? And I talked about this before where, my sister, she has a friend, she had a lot of these government programs. I don't know how she got kicked off of the program, but she got kicked off. It forced her to have to work for the things that she wanted. But at the same time, she could come back years later and say, I'm kind of glad I had to work for what I got now because I actually have more. I'm actually happy. Because when you're living off of just the bare minimum of the government, you ain't really, you really doing just that. And for some people that may be comfortable, for a lot of people it's not. So I don't know. Let me get to the comments here. Let me go up some. Dr. Umar Johnson. Umar suffers from an insecurity complex. I don't know. The brother, he seems to be strong, pro-blackity black, pan-African. Who is this man? He sounds racist as heck. This is Dr. Umar Johnson, Mr. King Kong Consciousness, on the mic right? Warning black people, that, obviously these Trump policies are going to turn us into slaves. So, which to me is perpetuating the narratives that there are no opportunities for black people in the Trump administration. And hold that thought, because there are little slick shit that these conservatives are doing that would make that illusion seems like it might be true. Isn't that suspicious? Yes, this dude will say it 1,000 times. Like you said, Umar is a clown. Young Eldor, you a big you a Umar hater. You like Kendrick? I'm his biggest hater. Um, let's see. I need you to like Umar. He will like, and this is what he needs to put emphasis on these things. But again, these emphasis sometimes is about fervor and fear, right? No shade to the brother. I mean, he believes what he believes. At least he's a man that operates with convictions. Whether or not I agree with his convictions or not, that's neither here nor there. I'm not going to demonize a brother. I definitely don't agree with some of his perspectives, but I'm not a Pan Africanist. I am not a Pan Africanist. So, you know, he could be shaping his ideas from a lens that just is removed from how I shape my own. This happened in Flint, then Buick left, and Flint small businesses climbed. Man, I go to Flint and it's like a dead time. General Motors left Flint. Remember, like when GM was in Flint, it was a pretty decent city. Then all of the major automotive left Flint. Then, years later, they had the water crisis. They had the water crisis right after a lot of those major automotive companies pulled out. Um, and Flint went to shit. Like, I mean, the only thing out there in Flint is Kettering University, and I think Kettering owns most of the land in Flint. So, you know how it is. NAFTA ruined not just industries, it ruined whole towns, right? And that tells you that it is very important for our industries to be in our towns, not overseas. And so, again, when I'm talking about how Umar is coming at this argument, I have my objections to some of the things that he said, but I have a capitalist mindset. I am a believer in the capital system. I believe in pure capitalism, not this defilement that it has come to be in the United States because of all these snake, slimy, greedy, Zionist type of people, right? They have defiled the capitalist system. And when you think of Zionists, do not just think about Jewish people. You got to think about those Christians as well, because they are the cross, they are the tandem of each other. But I say this to say I believe in capitalism. I don't believe in the disgusting capitalism. And it sounds like to me, if Trump could execute what he's talking about the right way, I feel like we may see maybe a comeback of pure capitalism in the United States, which really trickle down to opportunities for everybody.
He needs all hands on deck for the corporations. He's not doing this to help the government. He's a businessman. He is a capitalist. He's doing this to help the corporations. This purge is to force you into corporate slavery.
And it's interesting because Umar is a capitalist. Umar is a capitalist. I don't really understand, like, why he doesn't think that he's not a capitalist too. And, I'm not trying to say that the school that he's trying to build or has been trying to build, isn't going to come into fruition sooner rather than later. But, bruh, you are a capitalist. You're capitalizing on what you believe is a need for the Black community. And unfortunately, I mean, like you will understand, it takes time to really build or even rebuild something. In Trump's case, he's rebuilding. So he has to pull all the resources that he has. And the best resource that Trump has to play is American companies.
It is not to save the government.
Because they, not small businesses, are the ones that can employ thousands of people. And that is why I will never be against big business, because when you think about how so many people have been able to build their legacies, it wasn't being the owner. They were laborers, they were part of the laborers community, but they worked for these companies, and back then the company actually cared about their workers. So you had people that were working at the same companies forever. There are a lot of people who were able to retire from their companies and enjoy decent retirement, not because of how much they were being paid, but how much they were saving. You know what I mean? Part of good capitalism is knowing how to save and cut costs.
Brothers and sisters, please wake up and smell the coffee. This is all a grand scam for corporate America. It is a grand scam for corporate America. And because he is deporting illegals and even legals, because of his deportation agenda, he needs you to work even more. Because if they're going to get rid of excess people from this country, those people that they are getting rid of are the ones who are working under the table. They are the ones who are working for less than minimum wage. They are the ones who are working without benefits. You cannot get rid of millions of illegals if you don't have anyone to replace them in the corporate slave market.
You know who I know who can replace them? Get all these little ninjas from Chicago, the streets of Chicago, right? These little Negroes and Negroettes and some of their little people of color counterparts that's running around in these gangs, put their asses to work or throw their asses in the military. So there's an American base here to tap into, right? But we got to take them out of their comfort zone of gang banging and being waste to society, and we need to repurpose these people, right? We got a lot of people in prison for just dumbass shit, right? We got populations of people to tap into to get corporate America where they need to be. It's just a matter of how do we create these little reforms and programs to get these people back to work? You know what I mean? But I think this is a little sensationalized too, because at the end of the day, like I said, illegal immigration was a benefit for both Democrats and Republicans. And Trump is not stupid. He already understands that they're going to probably try to vet out as many of these illegals as possible who pose maybe an imminent danger to the nation, but they already know that they're keeping a lot of those 15 million individuals that remain in this nation. And see, the thing is with that is there's a bigger incentive for Republicans not to deport some of those people who come with skills and the honest-heartedness, because what they're going to do is basically do with the Democrats, we're seeking to do with these people, which was like bribe them with welfare to have a Democratic disposition, right? And so I can see, with this whole populist idea of Trump, that a lot of these immigrants are not going to be going to the Democratic voting position. I think a lot of them are going to be schmoozed into the conservative mindset for years to come. So I don't think Trump is really going to be deporting 15 million people. I doubt it. I really doubt it. I think he'll probably try to one up Obama, maybe do 7 million, but the rest of them people are here to stay.
Market. You must always have a large population of cheap labor in order for capitalism to survive. I need y'all to hear me.
Okay, but again, this is where globalization comes. This is where offshoring comes, because you actually don't need that cheap labor to be in America. You can go to Mexico, you can go to India, you can go to China, right? This is how it works. You don't necessarily need Americans for certain levels of production, and we've shown this for decades. So capitalism can absolutely still work, because we are tapped into cheap labor all over the world.
me well. I need y'all to hear me well. Capitalism only works when you have poor people whose labor you can exploit. The illegals were just that. The illegals were the poor, cheap labor that corporate America was exploiting. If they're getting rid of the poor, cheap labor that corporate America was exploiting, who is going to take their place? They need poor Americans to take their place. They need black people to take their place. And under capitalism, and we've talked about this before, and I'm no socialist at all, I'm a Pan-Africanist, but under capitalism, if your labor cannot be exploited, if your dollar cannot be exploited, you are useless. I want y'all to hear me on this.
This is very true. This is very, very true. This is where sayings like it's a dog eat dog world. You either eat or get eaten, right? The people who are being fed the fish a day, right? They don't survive in the capitalism system. The people who are willing to learn to fish, they survive in the capital system, right? Capitalism, there is no room for lazy, unmotivated people in the capitalist system. Things are just moving way too fast. There's no room for those people, right? And this is why America isn't necessarily in all the way. I really feel like we're more like Sweden, where we have capitalism as a system, but we also have a lot of socialism in this nation. I feel like America have had more of a balance of capitalism and socialism than a little bit. So why the evil capitalists are screwing everybody over, you got the socialist programs helping them out. But to Umar's part, if you're eradicating the socialist program, then that forces all those people in those socialist programs to have to figure out how to pivot into finding their place in the capital system. But again, capitalism, to me, you still require a lot of skilled labor at all levels. Matter of fact, it really doesn't work if all the people at the top have to do everything, because it's the people at the bottom that keeps the company afloat and moving the way that it's moving. So I don't know. Are you a capitalist, socialist? What are your thoughts about what Umar is saying?
This is important. Under the philosophy of capitalism, which is the worst economic system ever created.
I disagree.
It is the economics of white supremacy. Under capitalism, every human being's worth is determined by your ability to do one of two things. You either can slave for the corporation, or you can buy from the corporation. If you can't slave...
I mean, I don't understand where he doesn't see that a bulk of people are slaves to the capital system. Therefore, they are able to buy in the capital system, right? You know, they're able to leverage whatever earnings that they have left after the government has siphoned it with all kinds of creative taxes, right? Then they're able to buy what they need, maybe just what they need, or maybe sometimes what they want. But I don't think that people realize when they're taking stabs at the capitalism system, how many people absolutely rely on it. Like, we are all slaves to the system. Slavery never ended in this nation. They just created indentured servitude. And then that kind of rebranded itself into labor force, right? So instead of indentured servants, we just became workers, because we're being compensated for our time and our labor. I mean, that is what America is built on. That is how America really operates, with a culture of laborers, aka slaves, if you want to call it that. But that's what we are all doing. We are giving our energy, our time into a company, and then in exchange, that company is compensating us. We hope it's fair, but most of the time it's not, to market standards, right? And then what we do with that, we go and we live our standard of life based off of what we're making. this is the cycle that we're all in. And this is the cycle that he's saying we're about to be in. It's like, bro, we've been in this cycle. This is the cycle, right? Trump is not proposing anything that hasn't already existed. Maybe he's just tightening up the system. I don't know.
From
Taking it back to the old days.
For the corporation. And if you can't buy from the corporation, you're better off unalived. You're better off unalived. This is why they dropped
let's see. If you cannot work, that means that you can't make a living, meaning that you are automatically a liability. And I'm not saying that you deserve to die, but you are really a useless force in society after that. You are a liability to society when you are not able to labor, when you're not able to contribute something to the society that you exist in. Like, this is just how things have existed forever. This is how societies were built. Like, I don't understand. And again, I understand that there are a lot of people who are staunch socialists. I get that, right? But again, these are words coming from a man who doesn't even realize that he himself is a capitalist. That the money that he has right now is a result of the capitalist system that he is participating in. And this is kind of it's just so perplexing to me sometimes. It's like, do people understand capitalism, what it is? If you're making money, if you're exchanging something for something, right? You're involving in a form of capitalism, right? You got something that I need. You convince me that I need it. I give you my money, right? That's capitalism, right? Even if Umar may be driven on donations, right? Driven on donation, he's monetized across platforms for a reason. Because he's trying to capitalize on his audience, the engagement, and all the advertising that may be around those platforms that he's using that are monetized. And that's what kind of irritates me. It's like, do you not realize that you're a capitalist too? Hang on, let me get to the comments. I'm not like I said, I believe in capitalism. I'm not a socialist. You don't have to agree with that. But I just sometimes some of these arguments are kind of weird to me. Let me go back up because I see that y'all just been going to town. One cannot believe in a social safety net and also open borders. I agree with that. Giving businesses big tax cuts without diversifying the people suffer. Where they run up inflation and everyone got to catch up. Diversity means for everyone. Black people are at the back, yet we started it. This middle-aged man has accomplished many things in my years, and it all started when I left the victimhood alone. Bosco, right on. Let's get a round of applause for Bosco. You get somewhere when you're not burning your energy on victimhood. I am not a Pan-African, Israelite, or FBA. I'm just an American. I mean, I hear you. I am a foundational Black American. My people have been here, but I don't live by no tribal code of thought of being in the FBA. I just know lineage-wise, that is my roots. But I am also ancestral-wise. Our beliefs in my family is that we are from the tribe of Judah. We are the real Israelites. And so therefore, in terms of cultural identity, I think that when you say I'm just an American, that's your national identity. And if you want to just have a national identity devoid of any type of cultural attachments, that's fine. A lot of people don't operate like that. And I just say that, how you define who you are is going to be your business and not me. And not mine. I'm not in the business of telling people how to define themselves. Me personally, I define myself certain ways. It helps me to stay, kind of closer to the God of my forefathers and the standards and idealisms of my people from the ancient times. So that's kind of how I operate. But you identify with however you want to. But our education system is not a fair playing field. It absolutely not, because the U.S. education system, it really boils down to tax bracket. What tax bracket you are in really determines the level of education. But I find that that is subjective. I homeschool my son, and I will say that my son, since we started, we homeschooled him, we put him back in school, and he was just crushing the state benchmarks. My son was above state benchmarks, and it got to the point where school was not engaging for him. It wasn't challenging him. He wanted to do something more challenging. So he's doing things that are above his grade level and doing great at it. Like, dude is just like, okay, next, right? And as opposed to him doing all the little stupid volcano science, he's doing AC/DC circuits. And we're just going ahead and introducing him to electrical engineering principles. So my goal is that by the time my son graduates high school, he's going to be way ahead of these kids. And I think as much as we can blame on the US education system, it still goes back to the parents too. You cannot be trusting these folks to teach your kids, guide your kids, because a lot of these systems have been infiltrated with indoctrinators, victim junkies who are really just trying to, expand the knowledge of victimhood and activism to our kids in these institutions. So if I were you, I would not be trusting these institutions anyways. You know what I mean? And that was my wake up call. Like I said, where's that book? Do I got it? John Taylor Gatto. If you ever want a good read, I recommend this book. This will give you some really eye-opening perspectives about the U.S. education system, and it may inspire you to even want to evaluate, how you want your kids to be exposed to that. But getting back to Umar, he obviously has some strong feelings about
5 years ago to take out all of our elders. This is why they dropped the code 5 years ago to take out all of our elders. This is why they dropped the 5 years ago to take out all of our elders. Because once you retire, you can no longer slave for the corporation, and you don't really need to buy from the corporation. Elders can survive off of very little, and they can't work anymore, or shouldn't have to work anymore, or don't want to work anymore.
There you go, Brian.
Under capitalism,
it's called Dumbing Us Down by John Taylor Gatto.
Who collect Social Security, who collect pensions, are useless. If you can't slave for me to get rich, or if you can't buy from me to get rich, you are useless. So what Donald Trump is doing, he's basically saying to the American people, if you can't work for the corporation, and if you can't buy from the corporation, you're better off homeless and unalived. That's why they're not going to do nothing about homelessness.
And, I want to make this point too, because I think that when we're talking about what Doge is doing, obviously it has a lot of red flags up right now, because there's a lot of cuts happening. There are some, I think that even in certain instances, you have a bipartisan agreement between some Democrats and Republicans that they don't agree with some of the proposed cuts. I think that this is going to really force the Trump Doge to continuously go back to the drawing board on certain things, just because the public opinion is really the most important thing this administration needs. They need to hold on to good public opinion. So they're going to be looking at the polls. They're going to be looking at the backlash of any execution of policy that I think Trump is putting out. And I do think that they may be open to pivoting. But I think that this is as much as it seems like they got all their shit together, they know exactly what they're doing. Everything that Trump is doing, in my opinion, has an agile element to it. It's just agile. it's just really very, very agile, trial and error type of shit, if you will, kind of. Because I think that part of, his idealism on how to get America back on track is rooted in old ways of doing things that our financial system have pretty much, you know, been so corrupted that it's really hard to get back to doing things some of those old ways without really hurting the nation. Um, Not in the short term. It would be like a long term recovery, like at least 10 years. I don't think this nation, I think people are thinking Trump is going to be Jesus. I think that he's going to do a lot of band aid stuff to make people think it's all better. Guys, look. Right? But we will see. I mean, if some of my fellow people in financial services, you guys want to chime in and give your thoughts, go ahead. But I think we're looking at some long term execution of things for us to really turn things around economically, or we're going to have to imperialize the shit out of another nation, like I've been saying. Excuse me. No, I believe in loyalty and believe our protectors should be loyal to the Constitution and not to a president. And the president should have the same loyalty to our soldiers. You said this guy is whack. You say don't like Elon, Lovey? Umar clout chasing as usual. Trump and Elon is just like the Jordan and Pippen. You said, all right. And like I said, this is his opinion. I'm not demonizing Umar. I'm not saying I don't like the guy. Like I said, I respect a man that at least can carry himself with consistent convictions. And I do give the man credit for that.
Out.
Using cinnamon.
We got an AI lady trying to sell us a remedy. Give me a second.
Of capitalism. Poverty is an unnatural outgrowth of capitalism.
Actually, poverty is more natural than I think people would like to concede, because I think that there's sometimes a mindset of entitlement and everything should be equal and fair and equitable. But I look at it like this. You're in a manufacturing plant, right? And let's just say, and this is, I don't know about runtime stuff or whatever like that, but let's just say, you got this man and you got this woman, right? And we're talking about equity and equality, right? And the guy, they're both doing the same job, but he produces 20% more than she does, right? Well, if he's producing 20% more than she does, what does that indicate? That he should get paid at least a percentage more than her, because she is not producing the same as he is, right? And, I say this to say that every individual in any given society are different, right? We are all different intellectually. And a lot of times it doesn't necessarily boil down to schooling. It boils down to your family, your foundation. And I have this blueprint that I created called the American Blueprint of Success. And it was my LinkedIn background before they banned and censored me for what? I don't know. I think they just don't like intelligent Black women, truly intelligent women, the ones that are not hung up on victimhood, but just facts. But anyways, that blueprint of success was showing that the family is the foundation of the most productive people in society, right? The family unit, and it doesn't necessarily mean mom and dad all the time, right? It just means that in the foundation of the individual, they are giving certain things that help prepare them. And a lot of times that balance is a combination of having an environment of aspiration, right? Having some sense of idea of accountability and responsibility fostered within the home early. So you'll hear a lot of people say, I had chores growing up, right? I had chores to do, and my parents didn't even give me an allowance for doing chores. It was just something I had to do, right? When you look at kids these days, right, and they're not required, many of them, to do chores in the house. The parents are doing everything. They working, cleaning, and everything. The kids ain't doing shit but just chilling and asking for shit, right? That's a different type of foundation than a kid who is expected to work for what they want. So if you want X, you got to do Z. I need you to go clean this. I need you to go do this. I need you to do that. And when you do this and I get what I need, then you can get what you want. Right? A lot of kids don't have foundations like that anymore. They are free radicals. Truly. They're free radicals. So, I mean, I think that when you're talking about homelessness being unnatural, it's actually more natural than I think a lot of people want to admit. And I'm not trying to sound stoic about it. It just is what it is. There's so many factors to contribute to homelessness.
Donald Trump is making you think he's saving America money so it'll be better off for you. No, he's not. He's cutting the programs so you can replace the illegal immigrants who are being deported. I said he's cutting the programs so you can replace the illegal.
First of all, how the hell can an American replace an illegal immigrant? Like, that's kind of backwards to me. Like, this is our country. Ain't no replacing, right? There is no replacing. It would be an immigrant coming in replacing us. That's really how replacement work. Is you have another group coming in and they're, mixing up cultures or infiltrating cultures or however it is, right? That's how replacement works. You have these converts to cultures. That's what it is, right? Immigrants, to me, you can't say that they're kicking the immigrants out so that they can replace them with Americans. What are they replacing them with? What are they replacing them with? Because what's the difference between a garbage man and somebody who picks oranges and fruit? These are still essential workers to the American economy. And I'm sure that there is an American that will be willing to do those jobs without thinking that somehow they are back to slavery.
Illegal immigrants who are being deported. The reason Elon Musk is proposing a $5,000 payment to every American. The reason Elon, the hypocrite Musk whose Tesla automobiles depend on forced child labor in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, the reason Elon Musk wants to send every American a $5,000 check is to ease the pain of the transition from social support to social slavery.
No, I think what it is, I'll tell you this. If the government gave me $5,000, like, this is just me personally, $5,000 ain't nothing to me. But $5,000 becomes something to me when I stick it in a Roth IRA and a super duper aggressive Roth strategy, or, in an equity strategy or something. I just take it and invest it. Like, that would be like, because I look at money like this as I wasn't expecting to get it. I wasn't even sure I was going to get it. So I'm going to operate basically like I have. And if I get that money, I'm dropping it in an account that's going to flip it. Right? Like, when people talk about, oh, that ain't nothing, that gets blown that'll get blown. What is it getting blown on? Because what would you have, like, you didn't have, let's just say that 5,000 didn't exist. What would you be doing? How would you be spending? Right? You wouldn't be spending like you rich, that you just hit a lick. So if you were getting a stimulus and you out here just blowing the money because somebody gave you a couple of thousand, you dumb as hell and you deserve to be poor.
So they want to give poor white America a $5,000 check because they're assuming Poor white America is politically unintelligent enough to recognize that that $5,000 one-time payment that Elon Musk wants to give you, that $5,000 one-time payment that Elon Musk rat wants to give you will be spent in a matter of weeks, if not days. Look at inflation in this country. Donald
And
Trump
would that be
criticized
Elon? Let me
Joe.
ask you something. Would that be Elon's fault? I mean, in the age of, you know, social media, in the age of information, we've been in the age of information since at least I was a teenager, right? Ignorance will always be a choice. Ignorance will always be a choice. So even if he's saying that these so-called unintelligent rural white people, are going to get this money, they don't know that this is just Trump's way of bribing them into really bribing them and distracting them from what really is coming down, that he's cutting all of those programs that many of them were reliant on. I mean, that's a plausible argument, though. I can't really refute that one. That's a plausible argument. That's a
Joe
plausible
Biden
argument.
for inflation. And now, because of his tariffs on imported goods from China and Canada and everywhere else, he's raising inflation even more. The cost of living in America is not going down under Donald Trump. The cost of living in America is going up under Donald Trump because of the tariffs and the cuts. So the very thing he said he was against from the Democrats, he's doing himself. He's doing himself. He's doing himself. So brothers and sisters, they're going to suffocate Black America if we don't come together and do something for ourselves. This Donald Trump administration is engineered to suffocate Black America. Democratic Party plantation slaves, Kamala was going to do the same thing, but in another way. So get off your high horse. Democratic Party plantation slaves, Kamala was going to do the exact same thing. She was going to use the immigrants. Donald Trump is using traditional white power. Kamala Harris was going to use the immigrants to suffocate Black America out of existence. Donald Trump is using traditional white power. Same goal, different strategy.
So I am not, and like I said, I have to see how everything play out. I'm not a Trump patriot. I look at these affairs of men outside looking in, and I just make sense of things, right? But what I will say, and this kind of gets me to the final point of this live stream, is that I find that there is a lot of white supremacy trolling happening in the actions of the Trump administration, right? And I see this. They keep focusing on the conversation of DEI. They keep talking about DEI, DEI, DEI. We need qualify, qualify, qualify. And they keep doing like little things like we're getting rid of everybody, right? So we're getting rid of women and people of color, right? That Joint Chief of Staff firing, to me, Pete Hegseth did not have any rationality that was valid. The person that he replaced that Black man with was not as decorated as him. To me, that was a white man DEI hire at best for me. And when Pete Hegseth was pushed back and asked about this, what did he say? I don't even want to get his words wrong. I want you to hear what he's saying, because his rationality was so poor that he leaves the conversation open for it being a white supremacist move. He leaves the conversation open that what the Trump administration is doing is placating into white evangelical supremacists, right? So I just want y'all to watch how Trump and his administration are moving, whether this is a Trump thing or just some of the people that are leeching on to him with these ideologies, right? These people are fostering white supremacy mindsets in America, whether you people want to see it or not.
CQ Brown.
And I am not want to be out here, everything is white supremacy. Oh my God, it's racist, it's racist, it's racist. But a spade is a spade. And some of y'all want to act like your shit don't stink, and it do.
This morning on a Fox.
And this is The Void Darkens. And, you know, I listen to all sides of the spectrum. He's a black conservative commentator. And the one thing I'm going to say about these black conservative commentators, as much as they act like they are objective, these people are shills and buck dancers, and they will make all kinds of excuses that don't make any fucking sense to me. So that's just my spiel about them. I can't stand black conservatives or liberals.
He's an honorable man, not the right man for the moment, and ultimately the president.
Okay, so go back.
On Fox News, let's take a look at that. And I have a lot of respect for CQ Brown. I got to know him over the course of a month. He's an honorable man, not the right man for the moment.
Okay, so he said that he's not the right man for the moment. What moment are we talking about? What moment are we talking about, Pete Hegseth? Right? Because you said that he's an honorable, respectable man. He actually is more decorated than this other guy that he put in there, right? And they trying to gas this other guy up as much as they possibly can on the conservative side, but a spade is a spade. The black man was more qualified. And this is not about some, you know, victimhood. Oh my God, DEI, none of that shit. A spade is a spade. The black man was more qualified. And Pete Hegseth is literally saying that he wasn't the right man for the moment. The moment that Trump is trying to appease, like I said, and it may not be Trump. I don't want to put this shit on Trump, because a lot of times you ally with people of common mindsets or goals, right? But sometimes they may have their own little things that they're trying to do too, right? So I'm looking at who Trump has brought in second time around. And I talked about Steve Bannon the other day, how Steve Bannon just talking cash shit about white Elon Musk. Steve Bannon called South Afrikaners. He don't want them coming over here, right? Elon got Trump wanting to bring over the white South Afrikaners because they're getting the black people treatment over there, right? But that is just to say that, and where was my point on that? Because I get on South Africa and then all of a sudden I get distracted. But that is just to say, Pete Hegseth, his rationality, I think if they really wanted to prove that they're not coming in here and trying to, quote, whiteify everything, if they're not coming in here thinking that there is some idealism of white supremacy, or they're not trying to flex some idealism of white supremacy, they're not doing a very good job. They're not doing a very good job, and I'm going to give Pete Hegseth an F on this particular decision, right? You don't have to prove white supremacy so much that you would put and I'm not saying the white guy wasn't qualified. I'm just saying that he was not as qualified as the black man. And if you were somebody in military service, you understand time on job, you understand people, right, beyond their color. And I know a lot of military guys, they don't look at that color shit. They're like, we're brothers. I'm going to respect the man for what he is. You people that I'm talking to, the reasonable ones, y'all know that this was not a good move. Y'all know that this move did not make any sense. It made as less sense as Steve Bannon out there talking about he's doing a Roman salute. And there's no fucking such thing as a Roman salute. There is no such thing as a Roman salute. So when these people are out here doing this national Zionist stuff or Nazi stuff, right, that don't have nothing to do with any type of historical whatever to the Romans, because the Romans did not do that. That was not really a fabric of even their military culture. So you'll see like little pictures here and there, but for the most part, you look back in history, there is no such thing as a Roman salute. So these people are trying to slick talk and play in people's face. And then on the other side, they're like, everything shouldn't be about race. I'm so sick and tired of talking about race. And you got your people over here just slick talking and trolling slick white supremacist shit, and we supposed to just not see it. We're supposed to not see what the hell they doing. All right, let's be real, people. Y'all talking about unifying and everything shouldn't be about race. Tell that to the white folks too. Because how I've come to see it, it's not just the Democrats out here perpetuating and inflaming racist ideology. It's also some of these ignorant ass conservatives. Right? It's literally like the teapot calling the kettle black all the damn time with these two parties. It's disgusting. But thumbs down on that decision from Pete Hegseth. All right? I don't care whose balls you suck in this administration. That was a thumbs down move. It really was. It was dumb on so many different levels. It was not calculated at all. And some of these people are going to start making the people that voted for Trump and actually thought about giving the conservative Republican Party a try. These people are going to work very hard to turn those people away. So I do get where the Democrats are saying, we're going to sit back and just watch them be stupid because they're just like us. They're going to figure out a way to crash and burn the American opinion all the same. So just like things can shift this way, it can go that way, it can go this way, it don't matter. Conservatives, y'all got to do a better job with this whole your rhetoric. The rhetoric is going to make you lose. You will self-sabotage yourself before the Democrats even get to you. All they're going to do is have ammo. And when people start consistently seeing certain things like, excuse me, first we had Elon from the heart, right? Now we got Steve Bannon, right? Right? Y'all playing in our faces. So we shall see. Let me get to the comments and I will get out of here. It's trolling but actions behind it. Hey, to me, when you got a troll is a demon. So when you acting demonic to have some good actions, I don't even know what the outcome of the actions are going to be long term and how it's going to impact anybody. You don't have to troll to get shit done. You don't have to troll to get shit done. Just get it done with the highest decorum. These people out here just doing and saying dumb shit to appease segments of a base that's not really going to matter in the election in the long term. So there's that. They've already pissed off the Hispanics, which was a huge reason why Trump won. So you already got a major, voting base of Trump this time around who are pissed because of what's happening with ICE. And they are huge. So just think about things like that if you're encouraging all this little conservative trolling, right? And again, MSNBC, they're trying to get a handle on their liberal trolls. That's why they got rid of Joy Reid. Joy's going to be all right. She got enough name recognition to start her own podcast and do all her little race hustling with Roland Martin, maybe. She'll be fine. Joy, you will be fine, right? I'm just glad that a mainstream conglomerate is not sponsoring you anymore. That's just that. I'm so sick of. I don't like race hustlers of any color. I don't like them of any color. So just as much as the conservatives can't stand Joy Reid, just remember you got a Megyn Kelly that is all the same. She just got white skin. But anyways, you guys, have a wonderful rest of your evening. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I just wanted to kind of go over some of the news topics, the things kind of happening. Trump's been in office a little bit over a month now. I think he's had, 73 executive orders. I don't care about executive orders. I really don't. They're not laws. they can be overturned, right? And so touting 73 executive orders does nothing for me. In my mind, I want to see the execution and the outcome of those executive orders. So, yeah, that's that. And right now, I was looking at a poll, and it looks like Donald Trump right now has a 45% approval rating and about 49% disapprove of Trump. Now, consequently, congressional Republicans have a 40% approval rating, and Democrats have a 20% approval rating. So none of these political parties are worth having allegiance to. It's clear that most of the American public don't have a sound opinion about, a firm opinion about either one of these parties in terms of loyalty. So my whole thing is, don't, break up your families or relationships over this bullshit, because most of us don't approve of these people on a good day. So you guys have a wonderful rest of your evening. I think right now the U.S. debt is at 36 trillion. Doge has discovered about $55 billion of waste, government spending, waste, and fraud. $55 billion worth of waste and fraud. So, I mean, we got to give Doge their flowers for discovering those things, because it only trickles into other ways in which we can flip that money, right? Because again, I don't just spend money, get an ROI from it, right? If you don't get an ROI from your money when you spend it, you're just doing shit. You're just doing shit. And I think if a lot of people peel back the United States government, they realize that the U.S. government operates a lot like an individual with bad money habits. This government, which is a business, operates a lot like a person who has had no financial foundations and who have terrible money habits. And we do need to change that. So shout out to Doge. I'm looking forward to how much money they're going to be able to discover from some of these fraudulent programs or wasteful programs. And I'm also interested in seeing how that money is being reinvested, or what is being put into, and then what is the ROI. This is being a responsible citizen. So don't just be excited about what people are doing. I want to see I want to see the results, right? And we got to start really demanding seeing the results, okay? So just don't let these politicians say, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Oh, well, I got this little executive order that doesn't mean shit because it's not a law. The proof is always going to be in the pudding, people. The proof is always in the pudding. So with that, you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. And you said, that's your real hair. What does that have to do with the conversation? But I'm not going to do any advertising of a brand or anything. But obviously, these are twists in my hair. So it's not a wig, it's twists. But, a lot of Black women, we use certain fiber type hairs that are made with toxic chemicals. And it breaks your hair out. Like my hair grows like wildfire with this type of hair. So this is actually a plant-based braiding hair. Non-toxic, not treated in any harmful chemicals. Everything about this particular braid extension is plant-based and natural. So ladies, if you are looking for a natural solution for your locks, I encourage you to check out this plant-based braiding hair. It's made out of banana fiber. And I would tell you, it doesn't cause any skin irritations. You can wash your hair like normal, shampoo it deep. It just does not itch. It does not break out your skin. And I mean, again, I'm always looking for plant-based things right now, just because I feel like the more we introduce our bodies to things that are closer to the earth, the healthier that we will be. So check this out. I don't want to name drop because I don't like to advertise on my channel, but all I would say is Google plant-based fiber braiding hair for like your different locks. I love this. So anyways, you guys have a wonderful rest of your evening. Oh, it's not heavy. No, I don't like a lot of braids, so I'm a minimalist. Ooh, my Mercury is dusty. But I don't like a lot of braids. I'm a very minimalist person. I'm not trying to look like Shaka Khan. So I have a very simplistic way about my style. So yeah, I am a simpleton at best. Yep. The boss, your mama need to teach you better. Okay, you can't just coming up in chest talking about you got a banana from somebody, and it's probably a little thumbtack at best. So don't come up in here with that crazy shit. Here we go. These are the guys whose mama raised a loser. Let me delete you too. Anyways, you guys have a wonderful rest of your evening, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.